Day 4 started by tending to my wounds using standard rags, considering that I had no more belts to tear into leather strips. After that was time to visit the trailers parked to the west. Halfway toward the road, already I had to deal with the first 3 Zeds. One of those had a new belt for me. I will use it later to craft more leather bandages. After I looted it, 2 more joined the fight. One of them had another belt and a gardening trowel. The last one is not good of a weapon, but can be used for farming in the future. The second also had a belt, but most importantly he had a beer. Hard to believe that is actually the best item I can hope to find today, considering that it will completely calm my hunger at the end of it. I guess someone heard me say beer, considering that 3 more enemies wanted to steal my new treasure. I'm not sharing it with Brain Dead. Once they were down, I obtained another belt and a mason's trowel from them. The last one will come in handy when I will decide to build some structures. But this was not the time to dream big. I had to focus and deal with the next group approaching my location. To my ability, I separated them and killed the first one before dealing with the second. For winning this fight, I was rewarded with another belt. After that, thankfully I decided to double check the Chevalier Dart, considering that in the glove box was hiding its key. To my surprise, not only the tank was full, but also the battery was fully charged. Doesn't matter to me that is a crashed car and its conditions are really bad. This is still a huge find, considering that in CDDA, most of the car's batteries are already dead and a full tank can help cross large distances. So I carefully parked it close to the base. I will use it only in case of emergency to avoid damaging it further. For now, I can keep expanding my reach on foot. Back to the crossroad, I noticed a group of zombies too close for comfort. So I attracted them and went behind the safety of the fence. Despite the first was able to hide from my boots under a tree, I still managed to deal with him swiftly. I experienced the same issue with the second, but this time he was able to push me away. But I was able to restore my balance and deal with him before he can get up. The third one was easier to deal with. I can say the same about the fourth. For now it was the last of them. So it was time to loot. From the first I got another belt and a second beer. So far in terms of loot, this is already the best day ever. And it was only starting, considering that I saw only one enemy standing between me and the next house I can loot. This fella even had a pair of fingerless leather gloves for me to wear. Before I can check the rest of the loot, I heard more Zeds approaching. Zooming out allowed me to understand that I was far from being safe to loot the house. To safely fight them one by one, I strafed back to the crossroad, allowing me to easily deal with the fastest one. Then I picked my next victim. I smashed his head in time to intercept the third one that was trying to grab me from behind. "Not today, Satan, I banish you from this world," I was saying while emptying his juicy brain. While waiting for the slow one to approach, I looted a belt from the last defeated enemy. After defeating the turtle on top on his friend, I was able to loot from both more belts, plus a pair of spare work boots. Soon enough, more were approaching my location, and zooming out allowed me to understand that I was actually in danger. So I backed a little bit, before dealing with the fast approaching Zed. I was found myself again in a pincer attack, but this time they were far apart enough to swiftly deal with the first, before addressing the second. I waited for the lazy one, then I added him to the corpses pile. Exhaustion was already kicking in, and there was more, waiting near the house. No time to rest, considering that dealing with the slow Zed, another one decided to give me a hug. While waiting for him, I was pleased to find a beef jerky on one of the corpses with an extra belt for me, plus another belt and boots from the second. Same loot was in another in the pile. But before I can finish looting, another zombie was already too close for comfort. Killing him definitely alerted the rest of the horde, but only 2 actually decided to approach me. One was really fast, allowing me to calmly deal with him, before the second decided to meet his demise. To recover my breath was time to loot some of them. I found more belts and boots, plus a lighter that I can use to start a fire in the future. While retreating toward my base, I noticed a truck in perfect condition on the other side of the house, that we will definitely check later. While taking a breather, I decided to collect all digital watches from the previous enemies. I will need a lot of them to level up electrical skill when I will find the level 1 book, considering that I will need electrical and mechanic skills leveled up in order to hotwire cars. Therefore, earlier I start looting watches, easier I will be able to achieve my desire for a car collection. Back in my base, I deposited the boots and some clothing I collected so far in the clothing racks. In the left bedroom, cabinet the 16 belts plus the 4 digital watches looted before. While in the right, I left the lighter, the gardening trowel and the mason's trowel. While in the fridge, I put the beef jerky and the 2 beers. This was not enough to recover from my exhaustion, so I sat down in my comfy armchair and enjoyed some pages of the first volume about foraging. 40 minutes later, I was confident I had enough strength to deal with the last group near the house I wanted to loot. So I went back for another round. Strangely enough, the zombie furthest away was already locked on me as soon as I got close to the road. So I waited for him to reach me before granting him the well-deserved peace. While trying to aggro the next victim, I was surprised to see a semblance of a military backpack on one of them. He took his sweet 10 minutes to reach me, keeping me on the edge of excitement. But after dealing with him, I was immediately disappointed to find out that it was just a small backpack with a military camo skin. I took it anyway. I can use it as an extra storage container in my base. Next, while trying to wake up the 3 on the road, another fast one came by from far away. He had a belt for me in store. Considering that the rest of the group let me close to the window instead of fighting, eager to see what loot I can get from the house, I went inside. But before checking the place, first I had to deal with his owner. Despite his neutrality, I was sure it wasn't a survivor by the noises he was making. From his dead corpse, I was able to obtain another belt and a digital watch. While in the first kitchen cupboard, I found a small treasure. A can opener I will need to safely open canned food, a griddle pan I can use for cooking or as an emergency weapon, the keys of the truck outside, and even a rolling pin I can use for some of the best cooking recipes. Next, on top of the other cupboard, I found a radio I can dismantle later that I picked up. Even some canned food was waiting to be looted in the next cupboard. While in the fridge, I found 2 pickles and a maple syrup. To finish, in the bedroom, I found a hair dryer and some headphones I can dismantle to level up electrical. Plus some matches I can start a fire. At this point was time to check the truck I just got the keys for. To my delight, his gas tank was half full and the battery was fully charged. Plus on the seats, I found a map of Rosewood that will come in handy when I will need to explore that town. A CD player that will allow me to listen to some music and a gum as emergency food. To finish, in the trunk, it even had a jack I could use later to level up mechanics if I lay my hands on the right skill books. Considering that this bad boy of a truck was ready to roll, I deposited all of the new loot in his trunk. Then from the house, I picked up the old television and placed it in the trunk as well. The main reason for this is because televisions give a huge amount of electrical experience when dismantled, and considering that I had a working vehicle, I can bring them back to my safe house. Before I can safely start this beast engine, I had to go back to the road and clear it from the remaining Zeds. I had to almost hug the first to gain his attention. As soon as I killed him, the other finally turned around in order to check what was going on. After dealing with him, I noticed that 2 more was fast approaching from the south. Considering that I was already tired from all of the fights I had today, I didn't want to go out of breath pushing them down. Instead, I went back inside the house through the window. Considering there was a cupboard in front, they had to crawl inside using it. This also didn't give them the power to push me around if I can't hit them in time. But I was able to easily deal with the first, while the second one gave up after just 1 push, but later took several hits to the head before dying. Before leaving the house, I noticed a hairdryer I missed in the bathroom cupboard. Then, once I left the building, I saw another one banging on the window. Considering that he was refusing to fall, and I had to finish him up without alerting more Zeds, I decided to move back to the opposite side of the house. I dealt with this stubborn one in time before the next two joined the fight. Luckily, I was able to drop both of them from the first try, but both exhaustion and tiredness was impacting my ability to finish them with my boots, so it took several hits to finish them off. I had no more steam in me to fight today, so I took the belts, boots, and watches from the spoils of war, and I hid inside the safety of my new truck. Here I spent the next hour reading a few pages of Foraging Level 1. This allowed me to lose the out-of-breath moodle. After exiting the car, I have to chew on another granola bar in order to stop starvation from killing me. Then I decided to try to clear the surrounding of the next house. On the other side of the road, I met the first enemy, while seconds after another came to me from the left. It took over 4 stomps to kill the last one because of the extreme tiredness. Despite I was pushing my luck, I still decided to explore the house because it was too early to go to bed. My determination was immediately rewarded by a sealed beer I found on the ground, with a frying pan I could use later for cooking. Next, in the fridge I found a grape juice I can drink later. While in the bathroom I found some literature and an adhesive bandage. Plus another one was laying on the ground. In the bedroom I found just an empty pot. Finally, I picked up the old television before heading back to my truck. I was happy enough for today's loot, so I drove my new second car to the parking lot. Once inside, the first thing was to get rid of the television, so I placed it down in the basement. Next, I placed the new cooking utensils in the oven, the canned food, the can opener, and drinks in the fridge. The second television also in the basement. While on the table, I placed the radio, and using the device options, I got from it the battery I could use for my flashlight. Then I placed down the extra small backpack on the same table. Then went to the entertainment area. Equipped in my primary hand the CD player and added some headphones to its appropriate slot, only to move it in the television drawer to be used later to listen to CDs. Going upstairs, I added to my clothes collection more boots and belts collected during the day. Then, hearing someone banging on one of my doors, I went downstairs. First, I grabbed a beer from the fridge, and before some relaxed time, I dealt with the troublemaker. Finally, I was safe to drink my beer in peace. This made my hunger finally go away, and as a bonus calmed the pain from my injuries. Before bedtime, I removed the bandage from my neck injury, only to find out that it was fully healed. While the starting deep wound showed no sign of improving, so I just changed the bandage. Then finally went for a well-deserved rest in my bedroom.